So this is one of the most outrageous stories that I have ever seen. So you'll recall, especially the beginning of the crisis, there was a massive coronavirus outbreak in a lot of the meat processing plants, especially in states like Iowa. We covered it here. One of those plants in Waterloo, a pork processing plant owned by Tyson's, they had 5 workers ultimately die, more than 1,000 workers infected with coronavirus. That is more than a third of their workforce. And they are facing a wrongful death lawsuit brought by the family of Isidro Fernandez, who was one of those workers who died from contracting COVID on the worksite. Some of the allegations that they are making here are so horrifying, inhumane, unconscionable. I can't even believe it. I'm just going to take you through what is being alleged here in this lawsuit. First of all, they say in mid-April, around the time that Black Hawk County Sheriff, that's the county that this plant is located in, visited the plant and reported the working conditions there, shook him to the core. Around that time, the plant manager organized a cash buy-in, winner-take-all betting pool for supervisors and managers to wager how many plant employees would test positive for COVID-19. So workers are getting sick and dying, and the plant manager is taking bets on it like this is all fun and games. But wait, there's more. They allegedly explicitly directed supervisors to ignore symptoms of COVID-19, pressuring workers to show up even if they were exhibiting symptoms of the virus. As the pandemic spread across Iowa, managers at the plant reportedly started avoiding the plant themselves because they didn't want to get sick, even as they were pressuring workers to come in. They organized $500 thank you bonuses to employees who turned up for every scheduled shift, again, putting pressure, monetary pressure then on, people who are living right at the poverty line in a very difficult job, trying to pressure them into coming into work every day despite their symptoms. Just insane. They falsely denied the existence of any confirmed cases back in March and April. And they lobbied then, and this is where it also gets into some of the other things we talk about on this show, they directly lobbied the governor for COVID liability protections to shield them from exactly this type of lawsuit, ever holding them accountable for what allegedly looks like insanely outrageous, dangerous, unconscionable, inhumane procedures that they were following.
Oh, what a surprise, right? I mean, no one knew it was going to happen. And this is part of, we forget some of the early government failures. This was one of them. Not having enough protective equipment and, rationing and all these other things that we could have done in order to make this happen, because we almost had a national meat shortage. And the response to that was, let's give liability protection to the meat companies without providing them with anything. And then you're like, what? Like, obviously they're going to cut corners and go through this type of behavior. Yeah, betting on how many of your workers are going to get sick is like a special, circle of hell type. Look, Tyson's was like, oh, we had no idea. We fired him suspended him without pay or whatever. But it's clear that this was happening all across the country in so many different places in production, especially when it came to regard the food supply chain in April and May. And we're never going to know just how big of a failure that was, but just a small glimpse into what actually was happening there.
I also they suspended him without pay. Yeah. Wasn't enough to fire him, but he's suspended without pay. That's the level of the responsibility being taken here. But look, when you come down to it and you look at the way that people's lives are put below in the rating system of what counts in this country, the profit motive, it's just despicable when you see it at this level. We often talk on this show about the way that so many human beings are treated like they're disposable. Mm-hmm. Like they just don't even count, like they're just cogs in this machine to get the pork processed and out onto the grocery store shelves, rather than human beings with families, with wants, with dreams, with desires, and I've never seen a more outrageous example of exactly that.
That's right.
All right, more Rising for you after this.